So welcome so much guys to my channel again, and thank you so much for your support in terms of comments, likes, and subscribing to my channel. Well, many of you guys have been asking about the next part, of which I promised to talk about how to link the checkout form. And there are various things that I've done. There are various changes that I've done so that I can show you how to link the checkout form, or maybe if you just want somebody to deposit amount into the account, and then from that maybe you can check if the account has amount of money that the product is worth and then deduct from. So the first thing, as you can see, initially didn't have the login and the register the buttons here. So I added the scaffolding authentication. So authentication in Laravel is simple, especially for Laravel Laravel 7. I'm using Laravel 7 and below. Okay, it is simple because for Laravel 7 you just have to, after installing your new project, you just have to come to the website, and then we have this section, front end section here, front end and scaffolding, and there you will get the instruction on how to add authentication to your application. So for example, here you just copy this, and then you do this on your terminal. Just open the terminal, the project directory, and then you run this command, composer require Laravel UI, and then after that you just you can now use the whatever UI you want. If you are familiar with Bootstrap, you can use Bootstrap. If you are familiar with Vue, you can use Vue. If you want to use React, you can use React. Okay. It is for basic scaffolding, but if you want the login and registration, you will have to add this. You just do PHP artisan Bootstrap, and then you add this auth. So this authentication is the most important, because we want to be able to log in and log out users and get user session, so that you can know who is logged in, the information of the user and stuff like that. So that is what I've done, and maybe in case you have any problem doing that, let me know and I'll do a tutorial on that, just to explain to you how to do that. Okay, so let's move back to the project. Now I am able to log in. If I click on, maybe we are using this, maybe of course the users will be registering on the website. So a user has to register. For example, if I am a new user, I'll register here, and it will maybe request for my name, email, maybe password, then confirm password, and then I'll click on register. And this, after registering successfully, it is going to redirect me to the home page, whatever your home page is. But then I've just customized this for the sake of demonstrating this. So I assume that on the home page you have various products with various maybe you have the laptop, whatever product that your website is displaying, and you want the users to check out using the M-Pesa. Okay, and if the logic I'm using is that if the user clicks on pay, of course you'll have to get the user information. So if you had the user's the user's phone in the database, you can use that information. But if you didn't have that information, you can request from the user. And then the amount, if it is a fixed amount, you can use this amount of the product. Of course, these are hard-coded products, but you can have the product controller which has the product information. And if the user clicks on this, you redirect the user to, if I click, you see I've taken the user to the payment form. So here is where the user now can enter the amount of money and the phone number. So these details, if you have them if you have these details, maybe a product has a fixed amount of money, you don't have to redirect the user here maybe. But I did this in case maybe you want someone to pay a specific amount of money, and so you can maybe replace this with that amount. So you just take, maybe the product is worth 200 shillings and it is in the product, so you will redirect to this route with the product's amount. So you will replace this amount to the product amount and make it an editable. You can do it, and it is easy using HTML. And then the phone number, you can just take it from the database. And then you have this pay button. So the pay button you will now redirect to the STK push function, where now you will get the details of who the user is, and the phone number. And because these are the things we need the amount and we need the phone number. Okay. And then if he clicks on pay, now we'll have to get these details, because these are the details that we need. So this phone number is said that you can allow the user to enter the phone number he wants to pay with, or you can use the default phone number in the database. The amount, you can use the default amount in the product's amount, or maybe if it is a account that it is, if your application works in a way that the user pays amount first and then you deduct from their account, that is when now the amount can be, you can just give space for amount that the user wants to pay, maybe that we transfer that amount into the account. I am saying this because I've done application where the user has to deposit the money first in his account before paying for something. So that is why I did it that way. But if it is just the amount is taken from the product's amount, that is easier. You just take the product's amount and then you just replace it here, and then maybe the phone number, you can just take it from the database, depending on how your application works. Well, so after the user clicks on pay button, you have now to get these details, because they are the details that we need so that we can include it in the, we can make now the STK push part of the phone number and the amount dynamic, not hard-coded the way we did. Let me show you how the code looks like. Alright, so this is the STK push function that we had done before, and here we need to get the amount. Number 2, we need to get the phone number of the user. Number 3, you have to format the phone number, and you have to replace that coded information with that dynamic data. Okay, so why do we need to format the phone number? You know, maybe the users will be entering the number as 07 26 like this, and Safaricom, you can see the way the number is supposed to be. So it has to start with 254 here. So you have to format this phone number where you have to remove this 0 and replace it with 254. Okay, so that is what we are going to do. And then after that, now instead of these coding this, you just put now the variable that will have here and also the phone number here. Okay, so let me show you the changes that I've done on web.php. I have created 3 routes. The first one is the pay, that is, this displays the payment form. Okay, where the form that I showed you that has that requires the user to enter the amount and phone number. And then we have the confirmation. Now this confirmation form displays the confirm form, and I'll explain to you what that means. And then this one will handle now the confirmation. So instead of pay here, it should just be confirm. I forgot that. So like that. Now after doing that, I did these changes here, and I used named root. For example, this one I give it the name of confirm, and we have also the inside the API.php. I added the named route here, and I named it Lipa, and that name route is where I use in the form. So let's look at the pay form. So first, if we go, let me save this. So if we go to I just included them in the view directory here. So in the views, you have the confirm, you have the home, pay. I didn't want to complicate things to create other views, so I'm just using this so that I can explain to you. So let's look at the pay. So the pay, I just added this form, nothing else but the form. And the form, as you can see, the action is you have to do toward the route here. So the route is Lipa, meaning that is the STK push route. So if you click here, it's going to take you to the STK push. It will be handled by the function that handles STK push, this one. And then you can see the method is post. So this Lipa here is this route here. You see, I gave it a name of Lipa, and this is the route here. So I can either use this or use the name of the route. So I use the route Lipa, and that is what you are seeing here. And you have to use a CSRF token here. If you don't do that, it will not work. It will not work. And then now we have these fields, the amount, and then the phone number. And then I have another hidden input here. This hidden input, I'm putting there the authenticated user information. So the authenticated user information is going to be current this field, the name user. So if I want that information, I can get it in the controller. And the reason why I'm doing this is, as you can see, the STK push is on the API.php file. All the API routes, they don't have the session, so they are stateless. They don't have data. You cannot get the authenticated user in the API controller. So for example, if I go to this controller, if I needed this information, I would have done auth. I can like user is equals to auth user, like that, and this will give me the user information. But this will not return the user because it is the API. This controller is working on the API route, so there's no session. It is not going to show information about the user. So for you to get the user, you have to you have to use some other way. In this case, I'm just sending that user as an input. So in pay here, I send user, this is the input name user, and then I send that the information about the user there. Okay, so that is it. And here we have just to notify the user. You will receive a pop-up message on your phone. You can do anything you want to notify the user of what will happen. You have to enter your PIN to complete the transaction. So the user will know what will happen. So for example, I want to pay 300, just do 300, and then the phone number that I will use. And this phone number is the one that is going to receive the pop-up. Okay, so let's go back. So that is the pay form, and then the confirm form, this is for confirmation. So after the user has paid, what will happen is that the user will receive this transaction ID or transaction code, whatever you want to call it. This transaction ID is also going to be sent to it's also going to be sent in the after. Let me show you. Now this information, as you can see, you have transaction ID here. This transaction ID is the same transaction ID that is sent to the user after paying. So if the user pays, let's say 20,000 shillings, you will get a transaction ID, whatever, maybe CJ, whatever confirmed. So that is the transaction ID. And that transaction ID is the one that will be saved here and also sent to the user. That is the code that the user will receive after paying. Okay. Now, how do we authenticate the user? How do we know that the user paid? That is easier. So after user paying here, you just have to redirect the user to the confirmation form, and on the confirmation form the user will have to enter the confirmation ID, and you'll take that confirmation ID and compare it with the confirmation ID that is saved in the database, and that you can now validate that user, because the confirmation IDs are unique. There's no way they will be equal. No two users after paying will have the same confirmation ID or the transaction ID, so you can use that to authenticate if the user paid or did not pay. So I'll show you in a while. So as at now, let's go back to the controller. As at now, after the user pays, what I'm doing, I'm just dumping the request so that you can see how we get that information. Let us test that. So let's say that the user enters 300 and then the phone number. Yeah, let me click on pay button and you'll see how I dump that data. So here we have the data that comes in the request. You can get so you have the request here, and from the request you have the array, and then you have the first, this is the token, this is the CSSRF token, and you have the amount. As you can see, the amount is 300. You have the phone number, and then you have the user information. So in case you have the user information, you use this information here, and the user information is my name, the email, and data information. So this is the information that I send as a user. This is in the user's field. I send this information. So the most important thing here is the amount and then the phone number. So if you are receiving the request, it is easier to get the amount and phone number and replace the coded data. So what you are going to do is to let me just add this code here and I'll just explain. Well, so let me just uncomment this, and remember I added this request here. Request it wasn't there, so remember to add if you are following me here. So if request comes with that thing, we can use this or we can leave it. Let's just remove that. So the user is request user. Yeah, this is the user, and then the amount we get it by doing request and then the amount, the phone number request and then the phone number. And here formatted phone number, you remember what I told you. Then the phone comes with it is 0726 58 2228 like that. But you have to format it. You have to remove this 0 and add 254 there. So this is now the formatted phone number. So here we are removing 0. Sub-str, use this sub-str to remove this 0. And now we remain in 726 that way. And after that, now we have the code which is 254. And now remember this depends on the code, the country code. And now to make it this way, is when now we concatenate the two. So this formatted phone number is the phone number that is 0 has been removed. So that is like 7. Like let me just copy this that way. And then we have the code. Here we concatenate and get this phone number like this. You see that? So this is the one that we are going to use under part A here. So just remove this instead of that, and you use the phone number here. And then okay, now well, the same, you use it here, the same phone number, because the phone number is the part B stream. The phone number is part A and part B. And then the amount, you have also to replace the amount that comes with the request. So just copy this amount here and paste it there. So if I save that, now the amount no longer comes from is not hard coded anymore. It comes from the form. So the amount that the product is worth, or the amount that the user wants to pay or to deposit to the account, is the amount that will come in this request here. And then that is the amount that that the user will be required to pay, or the pop-up will come with that amount. Now after this payment going, after these details, now we have made them dynamic. Now after the user paying here we'll have to redirect the user to the confirmation form, right? So here we'll have to redirect the user to the confirmation form. Okay, so we just, instead of returning this, we can just do return redirect. You can either return view, you can just return view, or you can just return redirect, and we are going to redirect to confirm like that. So let's test this and see if it is working. I'll go back, refresh, and let me just enter amount as 3 shillings, and then the phone number, I'll just use that phone number, and I want to click on pay. So let me see what is going, if it is going to pop up, to do a pop-up on my phone. So I've just clicked on pay. So there is a pop-up here, but There's a pop-up on my phone, but we have an error here, and that error is on our form. It's not. It's a small thing you can fix. So it's saying that route not found, Lipa confirmation. So I think you have just to change that it is in the confirm.blade.php. So here, instead of this, it should be confirm, like that. So let me just save that, and let's go back and do it again. Just refresh. And if let's say now you are on home, so what I said is that if somebody clicks on pay, you can take this amount of money that is what that whatever item the user is buying. If it is just depositing the amount in the user's account, you'll have to enter here the amount of money that you want the user to deposit in the account. So for example, if that item was 20,000, this I will replace the amount with 20,000, and then the phone number, the phone number with the whatever phone number the user want to pay with. Okay, so after explaining that, now let us test again. So the amount I want to, let me do 5 shillings, and then the phone number, I use that, and I just click on pay now. As you can see, I have been redirected to the confirm page. In this confirm page, I am required to enter the transaction ID. So if I do the payment, I am receiving the pop-up of 5 shillings on my phone right now, because that is the amount we entered in the form. So if I pay, there is a confirmation ID that I'm going to receive, and that confirmation ID is going to be the same confirmation ID that will be sent to us, and it will be this transaction ID. Okay, so for the sake of authentication, if the user enters this transaction, whatever transaction ID that was sent by Safaricom after paying, you just do one thing. You have to create the confirm. Let me take you to M-Pesa controller. We have this function called confirm, and this function, what you actually do is you take the code that the user entered. Let's say the user enters here, that code, whatever code he receives, and clicks on confirm. What you have to do is to get the confirmation ID. As you can see in this confirm, you get the confirmation ID, and after that you take from the M-Pesa transactions, you look for any ID that looks the same as that ID. If you get that ID, the payment was successful, and now depending on that user who is logged in, well, you can now update the user information, or the product bought, at what time, the amount, and stuff like that, the confirmation code. Now you do that in this confirm function here. Okay, so I don't know if that is hard. I don't know if it is that is hard, or you may not figure out how to do it, but I just saw it important. The most important thing is to explain the logic, how it works, and after knowing that, it is easier to write what is involved. The first thing, the user clicks on the product. After the user clicks on the product, is taken to the payment form. Payment form, you collect the user amount the user wants to pay, and the phone number the user is paying with, and after that you send a STK push to that phone number, if it goes on successfully, you redirect that user to the confirm page. So meaning that if the user paid, he will be given the transaction ID, and that transaction ID will also be given. So you compare those two transaction IDs, and if they match, of course you have the transaction ID, you have the amount, you have the from that transaction ID you'll get the amount the user paid, and a lot of information that you save in the database here. If I have this transaction ID, it is easier to get the whole transaction, to know the business code. This one will not. You can get the, for example, transaction ID, the transaction time, transaction amount, whatever information that you want to populate the user information, the user details for payment details with. Okay, so that is why we have this confirm function. So that is how it works, guys. I don't know if there's any other thing you need me to explain apart from that, just the logic of how it works. Writing this, I don't know if it is hard, but the first thing is you have just to get the you just have to get the the information coming. So after, if the user clicks on, if the user enters the code here and clicks on confirm, we are going to take this information, and the function that is the method that is going to handle that information will be this confirm method. So the first thing is to get the transaction code, so which will be transaction ID will be equals to request, and then transaction, whatever you called it, transaction ID there. And of course you know that through the form, whatever the name is transaction ID. Yeah. So make sure you use this like transaction, and like the way you put it in the form. And then after getting the transaction ID, you now have to get the transaction. You have to find out if that transaction was saved in the transactions table. So what you have to do is you have to include the M-Pesa transaction. So we have already included, you have it here. We have it here. So you have to find out if there is any transaction like what the one the user entered. And for us to do that, we just have to do like transaction is equals to where trans ID is same as transaction ID, like that. So why am I using trans ID? I'm using this trans ID because in M-Pesa transactions table, the transaction ID is saved under this. In fact, it is trans ID, capital ID, like that. So trans ID. So if transaction, if transaction, so if we have such a transaction, we know that the user paid successfully, and now here we can do stuff. For example, we can now, maybe we have transaction table, we'll write that the user paid this amount of money, the username, the other details, and then you confirm that the user paid. So all those details, you write them here. So basically that is how you do it. So that is it maybe for C2B. In case you have any problem, let me know and I'm going to explain to you. Maybe there's something you want to know I did not explain well, just let me know in the comment section and I'll explain to you well. Okay, so maybe I'll be starting another tutorial on M-Pesa transaction, that is B2B, that is business to business or business to customer. So I can do first business to customer using the Laravel, and then after that I'm going to do B2B. And once again, I want to thank you so much for support in terms of comments, subscriptions, and likes and sharing. Thank you so much. And let me know maybe if there's anything you want me to do a tutorial on, and just let me know in the comment section and I'll do that. Thank you so much.